What if every strange coincidence you've ever experienced wasn't random, but intentional? What if the universe has been speaking to you all along, through whispers hidden in chance meetings, repeating numbers, odd dreams, and timely messages, but you've been taught to call them coincidences, so you'd never listen? This isn't just a theory. This is a revelation. There is an ancient force behind these moments, one that mystics revered, secret societies guarded, and philosophers only hinted at, a force that modern life has buried under noise, logic, and so-called reason. But once you learn to decode it, you'll realize you've been living in a conversation with the universe this entire time. In this video, we're going to break open the hidden mechanics of synchronicities, not as superstition, not as pseudoscience, but as the suppressed language of reality itself. By the end, you'll see your world differently. You'll see the signs, the meanings, the messages. You'll understand why they appear, and most importantly, how to use them. But before we dive into this hidden world, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a moment that felt like it couldn't be random? A phone call from someone you were just thinking about? A number that follows you day after day, like a shadow? Or a message on a billboard that answers a question you never spoke aloud? Those moments are not bugs in the system. They are invitations from something much greater. So if you've ever felt like reality was nudging you, trying to get your attention, you were right to listen. And if you've ever ignored it, this video is your second chance to awaken to a truth so powerful it has been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years. Because synchronicities are more than moments of awe. They are proof that the veil between mind and matter is thinner than we've been told. That your thoughts are not confined to your skull. That your life is being shaped in real time by an intelligent force that responds to you. Call it spirit, call it the field, call it divine intelligence. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that it exists, and it's waiting for you to notice. In this journey, we'll explore the ancient origins of synchronicity and why early civilizations considered them sacred, how modern science accidentally proves the mechanism behind these coincidences, the real reason you've been trained to ignore these signs, and how you can rewire your mind to receive and interpret them like a master of reality itself. If you've ever felt like the world was more alive than it appeared, if you've ever questioned the narrative that everything is just random, then this is your initiation. You're not crazy. You're not imagining things. You're just waking up. And by the end of this video, you will have the tools to decode the symbols around you, attract more synchronicities into your life, and step into a version of reality where nothing is meaningless and everything has a message. So make sure you stay until the end. This isn't a video you want to skip through. This is one you'll want to feel in your bones. Subscribe now and prepare yourself, because once you start to see the signs, you can never unsee them. To understand the power of synchronicities, we have to go back, way back, long before modern psychology gave it a name, before science tried to dismiss it as randomness. Ancient civilizations already knew. Reality speaks in symbols. Let's begin in ancient Egypt. The priests of the mystery schools believed that the universe was composed not just of matter, but of conscious design. They spoke in terms of Ma'at, the divine order of the cosmos. Everything had its place, its purpose, and its timing. Nothing was truly random. The Nile didn't flood by chance. A bird didn't appear at your window without meaning. Life was a tapestry, and every thread, every moment, was part of a cosmic pattern. The same principle appears in ancient India. The sages of the Upanishads taught that reality is an interconnected web of energy and consciousness. In Sanskrit, there is a word, artha, cosmic rhythm. It's the origin of both karma and dharma. It describes a deeper intelligence that orchestrates the unfolding of events, guiding souls through synchronicity toward spiritual awakening. And in the West, we find this echoed in Hermetic philosophy. The Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, teaches that the macrocosm and the microcosm are reflections of each other. What happens within reflects what happens without. Synchronicities in this light are mirror flashes between the inner world of the psyche and the outer world of form. But it wasn't until the 20th century that a modern mind dared to reintroduce this idea to a rational world. That man was Carl Jung. Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and disciple-turned-rival of Freud, was fascinated by the mystical side of psychology. He noticed strange, meaningful patterns showing up in his patients' lives, dreams that predicted real events, sudden insights followed by external confirmation, unexplainable coincidences that seemed charged with significance. These were not hallucinations. These were invitations. He coined the term synchronicity to describe a meaningful coincidence of two or more events where something other than probability is at play. He believed these moments were the confluence of psyche and matter, where the inner world collides with the outer in ways that defy causality. And he wasn't alone in this belief. Nikola Tesla, the prophet of electricity, was obsessed with frequency, vibration, and energy. He once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." To him, the universe was not a cold, dead machine. It was a living, resonating intelligence. Synchronicities were simply resonant echoes between thought and field. And then there was Albert Einstein. While not as openly mystical, he maintained a deep reverence for mystery. He once said, "The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science." Einstein and Jung famously corresponded about synchronicity, with Jung suggesting that certain patterns in nature, such as simultaneity, point to an underlying order not yet understood by science. But as these minds leaned into the mystery, the world leaned out. The 20th century saw a rise in mechanistic materialism, a worldview that reduced reality to particles and chance, algorithms and equations. The mystical was ridiculed. The symbolic was dismissed. Anything that hinted at a greater intelligence was labeled pseudoscience. And that wasn't just a shift, it was a strategy. Because when you sever a human being from the meaning of their own experiences, you turn them into a cog, a passive observer, a powerless being floating in chaos. But the ancients knew better. They knew that to ignore synchronicities is to ignore the voice of the cosmos. They built temples aligned with starlight, calendars in tune with celestial rhythms, and rituals designed to listen to reality itself. Today we are taught to scroll, to swipe, to keep moving. But in the ancient world, to pause and notice was a spiritual act. And so, here we are, modern souls in an ancient pattern, slowly remembering what we forgot. That your life is not a sequence of random events. It is a sacred text, written in real time by your consciousness and the universe together. And once you realize that, everything changes. So, what exactly is a synchronicity? Let's strip away the fluff and get to the essence. A synchronicity is not just a coincidence. It is a collision of meaning between your inner world and the outer world. It's when an internal experience, your thought, feeling, or intention, echoes outward into physical form, often in ways that are so specific, so timely, so impossible to plan, that you're left with a chill down your spine. This isn't superstition. It's a signal. Think of your consciousness like a tuning fork. Every thought you have vibrates with a certain frequency. When that frequency resonates with the field around you, the sea of consciousness we all swim in, it creates ripples. And when those ripples align just right, they manifest as synchronicity. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Synchronicity doesn't just reflect your thoughts. It responds to your attention. The more present and aware you are, the more you start noticing these moments. The more you dismiss them, the more they disappear. It's as if the universe is asking, are you paying attention? Let me give you an analogy. Imagine walking through a dense forest. If you're distracted, thinking about your to-do list or staring at your phone, you'll miss everything. The path, the birds, the ancient markings on the trees. But if you become still, if you start to listen, suddenly the forest reveals itself. You see the patterns in the bark. You hear the rustling of a hidden animal. You notice a shaft of light falling perfectly on a rock. That's how synchronicity works. Reality is always speaking, but you must learn to hear its language. And what is that language? It's the language of pattern, timing, symbol, emotion. You think of an old friend for the first time in years, and they call you. You're contemplating a difficult choice, and a line from a book jumps out at you like a neon sign. You feel lost, and you see the same number, 111, 333, 911, over and over again, until you finally ask, what does this mean? These moments are not accidents. They are arranged intersections, a kind of spiritual GPS recalibrating your path. And they become more frequent when you're aligned with your higher self, when you're living authentically, asking deep questions, or on the edge of a breakthrough. But the system we live in trains you to ignore them. You were raised to believe that everything must be explained, categorized, and weighed. That the only truth is what can be proven. But here's the paradox. The most profound truths cannot be proven. They must be experienced, and synchronicity is an experience. One that defies logic, and yet feels more real than logic ever could. Carl Jung noticed this in therapy. His patients would report dreams that matched real-world events. One famously dreamed of a scarab beetle, an ancient symbol of transformation. And the next day, during their session, a beetle of the same species tapped against the window. There was no causal connection, no scientific reason, and yet it was perfect, transformational, sacred. Because synchronicity isn't about causality, it's about correspondence. In ancient alchemy, this was understood as the marriage of opposites, spirit and matter, heaven and earth. The moment when the invisible becomes visible, the hidden becomes revealed. But here's where it gets even deeper. Synchronicities often appear when you're on the verge of transformation, when you're about to make a major life change, when you've been suffering, searching, or stretching beyond your limits. In other words, the universe often speaks loudest in your moments of crisis or awakening. Why? Because those are the moments when you're cracked open, when your ego loosens its grip and your soul starts to stir. In those moments, synchronicities act like breadcrumbs, guiding you through the dark woods of your own rebirth. But only if you notice them, only if you trust them, only if you follow. And that is where most people stop. They see the sign, feel the chill, and then dismiss it. "Oh, that's weird," they say, and they walk on. But if they had paused, if they had followed that thread, if they had acted, their entire life might have changed. By now, you understand that synchronicities are not just curious phenomena. They are intentional reflections of your internal world, projected onto the fabric of external reality. But let's go deeper, because here's the next layer of truth. Synchronicity is not magic, it's mechanics, spiritual mechanics. You are not a passive receiver of life. You are a transmitter. Every emotion you feel, every intention you set, every belief you hold, broadcasts frequency. And that frequency determines what kind of experiences you attract, recognize, or even create. This is where science, spirituality, and the esoteric converge. Modern neuroscience teaches us about the Reticular Activating System, RAS, a bundle of nerves in your brain stem that acts as a filter. It decides what gets your attention. When you focus on something, like a red car or a certain number, you start to see it everywhere. It's not that it just appeared. It was always there. You just became attuned to it. That's the gateway. But beyond neuroscience, quantum physics adds an even stranger twist. In experiments like the double-slit test, we see that the very act of observing a particle changes its behavior. Observation doesn't just record reality, it helps create it. This means reality is not fixed, it's responsive, fluid, intelligent, and synchronicity is a result of that intelligence responding to you. You don't just live in the universe, you live in a feedback loop with it. You send out thoughts and intentions, and reality replies. Not always in language, but in pattern, in symbol, in alignment. That's why synchronicities often come with a certain energy. You feel it. It's not casual, it's electric. As if time stopped for a moment. As if someone winked at you from behind the veil. That energy is your soul recognizing its own reflection in the outer world. And it's also why not all coincidences are synchronicities. There's a difference. Coincidences are neutral, random, uncharged. Synchronicities are sacred. They come with a pulse, a nudge, a resonance. And once you start following them, you realize they are part of a larger choreography. One that knows you better than you know yourself. One that sees not only where you are, but where you're meant to go. But here's the paradox. Synchronicity is not meant to convince your mind. It's meant to awaken your spirit. This is why you can't prove a synchronicity to someone else. It wasn't meant for them. It was coded for you. It uses your thoughts, your fears, your symbols, your questions. It's the universe speaking your private language back to you, flawlessly. And this brings us to one of the most important, yet often overlooked truths. The universe is not speaking English. It's speaking energy. It uses metaphor, mirror, myth. It speaks in dreams, in patterns, in strange alignments and unexpected echoes. Just like ancient oracles spoke in riddles, synchronicities challenge you to feel their meaning, not analyze it. And if you listen long enough, you'll see there's an intelligence behind the curtain. Not random, not indifferent, but purposeful. Wise, intimate. An intelligence that isn't just watching, but partnering with you. Because the purpose of synchronicity isn't just to give you signs. It's to awaken your awareness, to help you remember that you are not separate from this reality. You are woven into it. You are the wave and the ocean, the spark and the flame, the dreamer and the dream. And the more you follow the signs, the more they appear. Because attention is the doorway, and action is the key. In fact, here's something profound. Every major breakthrough in your life was likely preceded by synchronicity. A book that landed in your lap at the right moment. A chance encounter that turned into destiny. A random post that spoke to your exact question. It wasn't random. It was aligned. Because when you're on the edge of growth, life responds. But only if you listen. Only if you trust. Only if you walk the path, even when it makes no logical sense. Because logic is the language of the mind. Synchronicity is the language of the soul. You've come this far. You understand that synchronicities are not random quirks of fate, but sacred whispers from the unseen. Encoded messages trying to guide, confirm, or awaken something within you. So the question becomes, how do you start working with them consciously? Because synchronicity isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you can cultivate. And once you start tuning in intentionally, life becomes richer, more meaningful, and astonishingly aligned. Let's break it down into a 3-phase practice. Awareness, alignment, action. Phase 1. Awareness. Opening your inner ears, the first step is deceptively simple. Pay attention. That might sound obvious, but most people are so distracted by screens, stress, noise, that they miss the signs right in front of them. You can't hear the whisper of the universe if your mind is constantly shouting. So you must create stillness. Start by practicing presence. Meditation, breathwork, or even silent walks are powerful ways to quiet the mental static. You're not trying to make synchronicities happen. You're creating the conditions to notice them. Keep a synchronicity journal. Anytime something strange or perfectly timed happens, a repeated number, a powerful dream, a symbolic encounter, write it down. Over time, patterns emerge. What once felt random becomes rhythmic. Ask yourself throughout the day, what is life showing me right now? The question itself shifts your consciousness from autopilot into mystical awareness. Because synchronicity often begins with small signs, breadcrumbs. The more you notice, the more you'll be shown. Phase 2. Alignment. Raising your frequency. Think of your consciousness like a radio. If you're tuned to the wrong station, you'll get static. But tune in just right, and suddenly the music is clear. So how do you tune in to the frequency of synchronicity? You do it by raising your energetic state. Gratitude is a powerful transmitter. The more grateful you are, the more your mind tunes into abundance, harmony, and flow, and synchronicities begin to reflect that energy. Clarity of intention matters. The universe responds to focused energy. Be clear about what you want, not with obsession or desperation, but with soulful curiosity. Ask, show me the next step. Then stay open. Avoid getting lost in low vibrational emotions like chronic fear, envy, or apathy. These don't make you bad, they just distort your signal. When you're aligned, synchronicities accelerate. When you're misaligned, they fade. And remember, the universe mirrors your state. If you are scattered, the signs are scattered. If you are centered, the signs are crystal clear. Phase 3. Action. Walking the path of signs. This is the step most people avoid. They see a synchronicity, feel the spark, and then do nothing. But synchronicities are not just feel-good moments. They are calls to action. When you see a sign, ask, what is this trying to tell me? Reflect, is this confirmation or a redirection? Then ACT. Even a small step in the direction of the sign creates momentum. Let's say you keep seeing owls everywhere, a symbol of wisdom or a call to explore the unknown. What can you do with that? Read that book on ancient knowledge. Start that journal. Make that call you've been avoiding. Every time you respond to a synchronicity with movement, you're signaling to the universe, I'm listening. I'm ready. And that's when things get wild. When synchronicities begin to layer, multiply, and align your path with startling precision. Bonus. A simple daily practice to amplify synchronicity. Here's a ritual you can use each morning. 1. Set the intention. Sit in silence and say, Universe, show me something today that guides me toward my highest path. 2. Stay open. Go about your day with alertness. The sign may not come in the form you expect. 3. Record and reflect. Before bed, write down any synchronicities or meaningful moments. Ask, what did I learn? What felt aligned? Over time, this turns your life into an interactive journey, a treasure hunt designed just for you. Because here's the secret, synchronicities are not the goal. They are the compass. They're not here to entertain your ego. They're here to lead you home, to your purpose, your power, your deeper truth. So don't just watch for signs. Live as if life itself is speaking to you. Because it is. So, what do you do now? You've just stepped behind the curtain. You've seen the mechanics of synchronicity, the sacred dialogue between your inner world and the universe itself. You now understand that reality is not cold, random, or indifferent. It is responsive, intelligent, conscious. It is alive, and it listens when you speak, when you feel, when you ask. But knowledge is not power until it is lived. You can walk away from this video thinking, that was interesting. Or you can walk away transformed, eyes wide open, heart tuned to the frequency of truth. Because now you know, everything in your life is speaking to you. Not in words, but in symbols, in patterns, in perfect timing. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are not wandering in a world of chaos. You are a participant in an ancient dance between the seen and the unseen. And that dance, when you learn the rhythm, becomes magic. Think about the moments that led you here. Was this video a random scroll, or a response to something you silently asked for? Was it an accident, or a sign? Only you can know, because synchronicity doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't prove, it invites, and it's inviting you now to live differently, to walk with awareness, to trust the unseen guidance that has always been with you, waiting for you to notice. So let's remind ourselves of what we've uncovered. Ancient civilizations didn't view life as random. They saw it as a sacred system, intelligent and precise. Philosophers and mystics, from Jung to Tesla, all knew that there is a code beneath reality. And synchronicities are the clues. You are not just observing this reality. You are co-creating it through your focus, energy, and intention. Synchronicities multiply when you become present, aligned, and willing to act. And most of all, you are not alone. There is a force, a field, a presence that has walked with you every day of your life. It spoke to you through strange timing. It moved through music, numbers, animals, conversations, dreams, and it kept repeating until you finally paused long enough to ask, is this more than coincidence? Yes, it is more, and it always has been. So here's your challenge, starting now. Live as if you are in a conversation with the universe, because you are. When you ask, expect an answer. When you feel a pull, follow it. When you notice the signs, trust them. Not blindly, not recklessly, but with quiet power. Let your intuition be your compass. Let your curiosity be your guide. Let your presence be the doorway. Because once you step into this way of being, this rhythm of awareness, you'll see the truth. Synchronicity is not rare. It's constant. The only thing that changes is you. You wake up. You align. You act. And suddenly, life becomes rich with meaning, alive with magic, overflowing with subtle messages and sacred affirmations that say, you are on the path. Keep going. So if you felt disconnected, if you felt uncertain, if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. This is the moment the universe speaks to you. Through my voice, through your screen, through this very breath. Don't ignore it. Don't overanalyze it. Just begin. Start noticing. Start writing them down. Start speaking to the world as if it's listening, because it is. And if you do that, your life will never be the same again. If this awakened something in you, subscribe now. Join the tribe of seekers who are ready to reclaim the sacred language of life. Leave a comment with your most powerful synchronicity story. I read every one. And if you want more on ancient knowledge, forgotten truths, and hidden forces, this channel is your new home. Until next time, stay aware, follow the signs, trust the whispers, because the universe isn't random. It's a mirror, and it's waiting for you to see yourself.